Good evening to all, and welcome to our hearing. And it's a pleasure to be here in the Bronx. And just a couple of housekeeping things in that, FYI, we have a transcriber who is here. So if you don't see us taking notes, we also will have transcription services available that we review as well. So I just wanted people to be aware of that. I want to be kind and respectful, but we also have our 3-minute clock for testimony, and so that way I will prompt you when we're getting close to 3 minutes, but at the same time we understand around the passion of testifying before the commission itself. So making sure we achieve the appropriate balance with that. And also what we instituted, and we had it the last time we were in the Bronx, and we've done it at each of our borough hearings, is the intersecting of in-person testimony as well as virtual testimony as well. So we try to make sure we balance, including those who are testifying virtually. With that being said, I would like to have our commissioners introduce themselves first, and then we'll kick it off with our public testimony. And I'll start to my right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Wurzel. I live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, but I spend a lot of time in the boogie down Bronx. I'm a season ticket holder of the New York Yankees.
Good evening, everyone. Lisa Soren, lifelong resident of the Bronx and the Bronx Chamber of Commerce.
Since you're sitting here, might as well.
Good evening. I'm not a commissioner, but I'm Grace Pion, General Counsel for the Commission.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Darren Porcher. I'm a lifelong resident of the Bronx, and I'm happy to be here as a commissioner to represent you as a population.
Good evening. My name is Misbah Uddin, Uddin, and I am representing Queens. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Go. I'm a retired magistrate judge from the federal court in Brooklyn, and I live in Brooklyn, but I've loved coming up to the Bronx. I'm learning a lot about the Bronx.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jovan Collado. I'm from the Bronx. It's my alma mater. It's good to be home.
Kevin Sullivan. I was born in the Bronx. I now live in Manhattan.
Good evening, John Flatteau, Executive Director.
And virtually, we have our commissioner as well. Commissioner?
Thank you. Oh, can't hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Johnson from Brooklyn. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And as other commissioners join, we'll have them introduce themselves, whether in person or virtually. So I'd like to start our testimony with our council member, Eric Dinowitz. Council member?
Good evening. It's good evening, commissioners, guests. I'm council member Eric Dinowitz, representing the 11th district here in the Bronx. That's right, the best district. In fact, this institution is in my district. I'm very proud of that. And we're doing the hometown thing. I took 2 courses here at Lehman College as well. All right. I'm also the co-chair of the Bronx delegation, and I first want to thank the commissioners and the staff for the incredibly important and challenging task before you and the work that has been done so far. The district lines, though, that the commission draws must take into account communities of interest, but these communities are not always reflected in the neighborhood lines laid out in census maps. The draft lines are a good example of that reality. Residents of the Bronx and its elected representatives live and breathe these streets and these communities. I've spoken extensively with local residents and seek to encapsulate their needs, and I look forward to the next set of maps that reflects the voices of Bronxites. In the commission's draft, for example, the neighborhood of Wakefield was completely removed from the 11th district and added to the 12th district, and part of Kingsbridge Heights was moved from the 14th and added to the 11th. For reasons I will explain, this is the opposite direction in which the district needs to be remapped. I urge the commission to consider changes to their draft maps to meet the needs of residents of the Bronx. The first issue is the historic nature of District 11. The northwest section of Wakefield has historically been part of District 11, and Kingsbridge Heights has historically been part of District 14. This history is a reflection of shared interests, and the newly drawn map should include Wakefield in District 11 and ensure that Kingsbridge Heights remains united with District 14. But it's not just history that dictates the importance of including Wakefield in 11 and ensuring Kingsbridge Heights remains in 14. Beyond the historic nature of the district, District 11 is currently home to communities of interest centered on housing, which is the second issue pertaining to this map. District 11 contains neighborhoods that in the north are generally zoned R1 through R5. This means homes and buildings that are generally lower in density than other areas in the Bronx and represent unique needs as it relates to property taxes, to parking, cleaning services, DSNY, public transit, and more. And with the commission's draft, residents of Wakefield who share those same unique needs as other neighborhoods in District 11, like Kingsbridge, like Riverdale, like Woodlawn, would be added to a district that includes a significant number of residents in large developments. Conversely, parts of Kingsbridge Heights that were added to District 11 should be united with District 14. In contrast to Wakefield, Kingsbridge Heights contains zoning regulations and buildings that are more similar to those in District 14. To ensure that communities with similar housing are united, I urge the Commission to consider these changes. Beyond the zoning, the third issue deals with renters and owners. According to census data, Wakefield has proportionally more owners of property than Kingsbridge Heights, which has proportionally more renters. Renters and owners each face their own unique needs, and the district lines must reflect these aligned interests. If the renters in Kingsbridge Heights are united with other renters in the 14th, they can mobilize their political power to fight for their shared interests. Similarly, owners and shareholders united in the 11th district can mobilize their political power to fight for common needs. The owners in Wakefield have an aligned interests with the other owners in the North Bronx, while the residents in Kingsbridge Heights have shared interests with other parts of Kingsbridge Heights and University Heights. Now, as a Bronx delegation, we are working together to construct a Bronx Unity map that reflects the communities of interest that we all know and understand at a block-by-block level, and we will submit this map electronically. But given the factors I outlined above, I urge the Commission to retain the 2012 lines for Council District 11 with the following changes based on the communities of interest that I mentioned before and population changes. In Wakefield, adding blocks south of East 233rd to East 238 from Bronx Parkway in the west to Bronxwood Avenue in the east, adding everything north of Nereid Avenue, add areas west of Bruner and east of Barnes between Nereid and Pittman, the area whose north border is Pittman, whose east border is Gunther Avenue, whose southern border is East 232nd, and runs west connecting to the rest of District 11, and include the square block between Bronxwood Avenue and Paulding Avenue and East 233rd, East 232nd Streets. In the area of Kingsbridge Heights, the area that was added to District 11 in the first draft of this maps should be reunited with District 14, and in the maps that I will submit electronically, including additional square blocks of the Kingsbridge Heights area to add to Districts 14 and 15. I thank you for your consideration and look forward to the next round of maps that reflects the collective will of the residents of the Bronx.
Thank you, Council Member, for your testimony. Next, we have Council Member Amanda Farias. And we're working on the feedbacks. I know we're getting feedback here, but it's being worked on. Hopefully, we'll have it resolved. So, sorry for the thumbs down, but it's just unfortunately the technology and the reality. So I'm not sure how we address it, but we're looking at it. Okay, thank you. Council Member? Yeah, she's virtual.
Folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure it's working. Again, hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Councilmember Amanda Farias, representing the 18th district in the...
Councilmember, can you hold on 1 second? We're having technical difficulties down here.
Sure.
Oh, that check sounded better. Hold on 1 second. Can you say a couple of words? I think
Hello, everyone.
There we go. All right. Thank you, Councilmember.
Yeah, I can hear myself now.
Okay.
Okay, great. I'm Councilmember Amanda Farias, representing the 18th District in the New York City Council, and I'll be submitting additional testimony in the coming weeks to support the current neighborhoods and communities of Council District 18. But tonight, I did want to address the first drafted map. Council District 18 loses a large portion of the Soundview community that is directly reflective of the surrounding neighborhood areas, while it takes on an area that encompasses York Studios, which can be an opportunity and economic driver for residents. This area also brings some larger buildings that are privately owned co-ops that have actually never been within this district before. The new drafted district lines also move Council District 18 toward encompassing a completely new community, Westchester Square. This would increase our bid footprint and homeowner footprint in the district. It does feel like a natural fit for the adjacent communities like Parkchester, Castle Hill, and Zariga to have Westchester Square included within our district lines. The two neighborhoods that are newly included in Council District 18 lines are similar, if not alike, to the current neighborhoods that I represent. The Soundview Bronx River portion that is currently drafted to be removed does bring me a bit of hesitancy and caution, as residents here historically have been accustomed to being represented within Council District 18 lines. Though many of us are new members, and so maybe that transition won't be so difficult for our residents. Preliminarily, these draft lines are okay, I will say to the commission, but community input is desperately needed to continue and add additional members' voices to this process. I hope the commission has more hearings, more sample drafted maps, and works to utilize tools like polling, texting, advertisements, and social media to increase both positive feedback on the drafted lines and critical feedback to address the drafted lines, especially since we are impacting so many residences and our neighborhoods. Lastly, I do want to reaffirm that the newly drafted lines for Council District 18 continue to keep Parkchester whole and the Classen Point Harding Park communities whole. From the Parkchester community to the residents of Classen Point, every constituent in the proposed lines for Council District 18 are connected by culture and politics. It is crucial we do not fragment communities who have already had a long history of underrepresentation and underfunding. District 18 is a Black and Brown community, but in recent years, there's been a large increase in Asian immigrants to Parkchester, reflected in the 2020 census data. Our Black and Latinx neighbors have been able to build generational wealth and opportunity by building a life in Parkchester. And the Bengali Bangladeshi community has created a cultural hub on Starling Avenue, directly connected to the Parkchester-Castle Hill borders. Parkchester is a largest privately owned affordable housing property in the country, and with more than 40,000 inhabitants in the Parkchester complex. It's critical that we keep this entire complex together as residents share similar demographics and quality of life issues. Classen Point, Harding Park, and Soundview are all waterfront communities, and in recent years have seen increased resiliency efforts and new transit infrastructure, including a new ferry landing, and will continue to need additional support when it comes to protecting our coastline. These communities have a long history of interconnectivity that has afforded the larger Latinx and Black community members the opportunity to continue on generational wealth. It is important because of this history that these communities deserve to be kept together under the same representation. I'm proud to not only represent such a community-centric district, but also to be a product of this culturally rich and unique communities that make up the past and currently redrawn Council District 18 lines. Thank you to the New York City Redistricting Commission for convening us all here today. and to everyone testifying today for listening to one another and advocating for your communities. If we don't defend our lines now and stand up for what needs to be kept together or what needs to be challenged a bit to move forward, it's our communities in the outer boroughs who are going to deal with the decades of divestment and feel it the most. Council District 18 does not have too many drastic changes, but that doesn't mean we can take a back seat in standing up for our communities who rely on one another every day. So I hope to encourage more people to submit both public testimony today and the next couple of days in their efforts, but also get your neighbors to submit testimony online. All of that will be considered in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kevin Riley?
Greetings and good evening to the esteemed colleagues of the District Commission, my residents of the District 12, and every resident here in the Bronx. I thank you. I come before you today as Kevin Riley, the council member. But before I was Kevin Riley, the council member, I was a young boy born to Jamaican immigrants who migrated to the 12th District in hopes to create a better life and legacy for our future of our family. As a product of this community, it has been an honor to serve and represent this district. This district has made me the person I am today, and this would not be possible without the foundations, pillars, and resources that have been built in our community. It is the reason why I have dedicated both my personal and professional life to this district. It is the reason why I have sought out to further my roots, stay in the Bronx, and raise my family here. To give a snapshot of my life, I was born in the Olinville section of my district in the late 80s. In the early 90s, 1990, my mother purchased a house in the area that we call the Valley within my community, while my father's family laid their roots in Co-op City. Like many families here, my parents wanted to invest in our future and create generational wealth. For a Jamaican immigrant coming to America meant a place of opportunity, and the Northeast Bronx was and still is my home and the largest area of Jamaican diaspora in the city of New York. My schooling started at Immaculate Conception on Gun Hill Road, which is also in the Olinville section of my district, where I attended until I was in 7th grade, and in 8th grade moved over to our later grade section, which is in the Edenwald section of our community. Last year, as I spoke about the Valley, we were able to allocate $43 million to upgrade a park, Hafen Park, within my community, which was a huge win as a newly elected council member. My family worked extremely hard and with abundance of studying, dedication, and my mother, who did not play because she came from Jamaica, I was able to study in high school in Mount St. Michael, which is in the Wakefield section of our district. My first job in high school was as a part-time worker in the New York City, for the New York City Summer Youth Employment Program at the New York City Public Library, which is located in the Eastchester part of my district. You see where I'm going there? Like many members of this community whose stories are similar to mine, this neighborhood, in its essence, is much greater than a map, greater than just numbers. It is our past, our present, and our future. Critical investment of time, labor, and the fight for resources have uplifted our neighborhoods to the home it is today. The monumental built from our collaborative actions fuels the continued charge to advocate for the betterment of this district. I urge you to reconsider the boundary lines and seek feasible alternatives to restore the fragment of the neighborhoods in Gun Hill and the Valley, which were taken away from our district in the preliminary maps that were presented. Approximately 47% of the cases from our office have been seen from the zip codes 10467 and 10469, which covers the East Gun Hill Road area and the Valley section of our community. This is a great necessity for in-person services and to make them accessible. This impact is seen most greatly by the loss of the Gun Hill houses and value development that has a senior population with limited access to car ownership, who will go from a bus ride of under 10 minutes to a multi-phase ride averaging a half an hour. The 12th Council District is unique. By population, it is stabilized as a majority African American community. Based on the 2020 census, the neighborhood tabulation area, the NTA, for Williamsbridge, Olinville has 60% black residency, and in Eastchester, Edenwald, Baychester, which surrounds the communities as the Valley, has 68% compared to the entire borough, which has 28%. In 2019, the Census American Community Survey has estimated the region of home ownership, which is in my district, rate of 39.1%, with 60.2% of homeowners identifying as black. In a system where historically black home ownership has been difficult to obtain, neighborhoods like the Valley, Wakefield, and especially Edenwald prevailed as a pocket of promise within our community in obtaining the American dream. The Bronx NHS provides services to expand home ownership, whether you're a first-time homeowner buyer or foreclosed within our community. And since taking office, we were able to advocate $370K annually for the last 2 fiscal years, providing sustaining funding post-pandemic. This funding is directly supporting the homeowners of the Council District 12 with the resources supporting the homeowners of the Valley, Edenwald, and Wakefield, especially in the context of ensuring resilience with a fiscal crisis amongst us. Furthermore, it stands, I'm sorry?
Can you wrap up a little bit? Can you wrap up a little, please?
I'll try my best.
I appreciate your best. I appreciate
submit
your
it.
best, sir.
I'll try my best.
Thank you very much.
Furthermore, as it stands, there is a number of community institutions such as Mind Builders Creative Arts Incorporated, which is located in Olinville, which is by East Gun Hill Road, that we were able to advocate $250K, and also the Evander campus, where we were able to advocate $778K. In conclusion, I hope not only my personal experience resonates, but exemplifies how unified our community is and how we're able to accomplish remarkable growth with our resources in our district. The past and present experience and true cultivation of home ownership and resources will be taken away to support other council districts. It is essential to be mindful of the council dollars that support the need of the community. I encourage the District Commission to keep District 12 true to historic context. Breaking up District 12 will not only dissolve the voting power of one of the most marginalized communities in the city, it will also be detrimental to the progress and opportunity of generational wealth and creating a long-lasting change for our community. I have so much more to say, but I'm going to wrap it up.
I appreciate
All right?
that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you for your testimony. Councilmember Althea Stevens.
Good afternoon, or good evening. As a duly elected city council member of the district, I would like to say the following. First of all, I want to recognize the work that's gone into drafting the new council lines. This is undeniably a difficult task and is appropriate in the care and consideration the Redistricting Commission has put into this process. However, given the historical disenfranchisement of my community and the community I'm privileged to represent, I believe it is my responsibility to write and express my concerns and relying on some of the feedback that I've been giving by my constituents of District 16. I would like to first start off by taking the time to talk about things that you added to the district, that the commission has added to the district that I believe is a great improvement, like uniting 161st Street bid into one council district. This is essential as this additions to the district. I have been working very closely with the new bid director to bring opportunities to local businesses and owners, increasing the engagement in local residents. I would like to also say that adding the additional Joyce Kilmore and Fred Siegel Park to the district will strengthen the work that I've been doing with the 4 Parks, which is an organization that helps community members volunteer to keep the upkeep of the park. As most of the group volunteers in the district live in District 16, I was proud to be able to allocate them their first councilmatic funds so they can continue to do their work. But moving on to some of the difficult things. Like many other predominantly Black and brown areas of the city, District 16 includes disengaged communities that have historically been left out of the decision-making process, and do not feel motivated to be engaged now. According to the American Community Survey, approximately 32 to 40% of the district residents live under the federal poverty line, with one of the most with one of the most highest shelters rates of children in shelters and populations in the city. Although this makes the job of the Redistricting Commission more complicated, it is important to consider and weigh those unheard voices in this process. Just because someone is away or unaware of how to engage in this process does not mean they should be ignored. I'm here today to implore the Commission to pay attention to such communities that have been left out of this conversation. Engaging those communities, uplifting and unheard voices has been a priority of my office, and I've just started making inroads. I partner closely with my community board to build up leaders and demonstrate to residents that they have access to the elected offices. Dividing those communities will erase the progress and further disenfranchise residents from getting involved. In addition to the work I've been doing with uniting, strengthening communities, I have particular focus on youth, working closely with principals to meet their needs. I have a particular partnership with principal of IS 229 at 275 Harlem River Drive, Harlem Park Bridge, with a collaboration focused on local gun violence. I asked the Commission to consider keeping the school in my district so we can continue to build on the work and develop alternate pathways for our young people. There's entities in our community that merit consideration despite having no voices at all. The waterfront of the Bronx, of the West Bronx, is one of that is not most underinvested and underutilized stretch of waterfront in New York City. Much of the stretch along the Harlem River Drive is a dumping ground and virtually inaccessible, and an issue I've been working with local advocates even before I was in office. To keep this momentum going, it's vital that I remain the consistent representation of this current stretch of waterfront that falls in District 16. Maintaining it is even more expanding and ununifying the West Bronx waterfront would allow a growing coalition of current base high bridge to coordinate closely with the council member's office to fight for equity, resources, and recognition. Additionally, dividing the West Bronx waterfront and separating the hybrid section from Roberto Clemente puts that into jeopardy with growing coalitions. The largest concern I have after reviewing the preliminary maps concerns the preservation of the Black community. I've consistently heard growing from Black community leaders that their voices will be diluted, and the beautiful diversity of the Bronx will not be adequately reflected in the future. As this was implemented for the creation of the Voting Act of 1965, this is of grave concern for me. Comparing the current maps of Council District 16 to the preliminary plans released on July 15, the portions of the Black population decreased from 46% to 36%. Some of this is changed as a result of the removal of two historical, prominently African American communities from District 16 map. The areas include Woodstock Terrace and Forest Houses, and between Trinity and Tinton. And those areas include Sedgwick Avenue and Undercliff Avenue, and River Park Towers. As those areas, the African American population of the Bronx has been long-standing present and long history of active community leaders. It is imperative to keep those communities together, as it is currently represented of the district. I implore the Commission to consider reinstating Council District 16 to include those neighborhoods and preserve the unification of those communities. I appreciate the opportunity to share my testimony and feedback on the preliminary maps as has been shared with me. I urge the Commission to take the above issues and concerns into consideration as we revise the preliminary maps. Thank you.
Thank you. Council member, 1 second. Thank you first. And what school did you say? IS
229.
229. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I'll be submitting in writing as well. In addition to the Bronx, we'll be submitting a unified statement and map to talk about it because the delegation is working hard on that as well.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have former council member Andy King, virtually.
Are we here?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, see me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I want to thank you, Dennis Wilcock and your whole team there who's done so much to put this map together. I know it's been challenging for all that have had the task to do so. As a resident of the 12th District, who served this in the council, I got to thank Councilman Rowley for his earlier message about how we stick together and stay together as a neighborhood. I too was one who's been in this community pretty much all my life. And I think that as this map has been drawn as this, we're all asking that it just remains the same. And if there has to be any adjustments, those adjustments are so minimal that it doesn't break up the historic value of our community. Many people who have embraced and enjoyed it, who are graduates of Evangelist High School, me is one. Our public high school is PS 41, Magenta Park, which is historic park in our neighborhood, as well as the Gun Hill houses. Which is part of the fabric of our neighborhood. And I know that our community has been listed as one of the top residential homeowners district in the city of New York. And it'd be a disservice to break up that power. When I talk about power, we're talking about voting power. And we know homeowners bring a different energy, as well as our renters and our apartments bring that energy to make up the 12th district a great district. So we would hate to see us lose part of the valley, which is a very historic part of, for many who have enjoyed parties, dances, just a great place to take your families out to. But we communicate with each other as family. And it'll be disturbing to say, because numbers might have changed, that the lines are being drawn that will break us up as one. So we're asking this commission to reevaluate, reassess what the plans are in regards to the 12th district. They did this to our 16th congressional district. We know that this neighborhood, the 12th district, has led the voting in the borough of the Bronx the last 10 elections because of the homeowner and the Black vote. What they did to Congress, our 16th district, they broke it up into 3 districts and took out the first Black Congress member ever to represent this neighborhood. So we just broke that up for no particular reason why he could continue remaining representing us. So to do that for the same district of the 12th district, where we're taking our homeowners and we extend the lines up further north, that we're looking at more shelters, more factories, commercial strips that take away voting power, it doesn't bring anything better to the 12th district. And I know no matter what your color or your hue is, Blacks can represent Hispanics, Hispanics can represent Asians, whites have represented the 12th district in the history of this community. So now it doesn't mean because we may have any more additional Asians or Hispanics coming into the 12th district that the line should change, or we should take out pieces that are historically part of it to make sure that the 13th city council district or the 15th council district who are looking for more home ownership or saying because the ethnicity might be changing a little bit, that we should draw these lines that create a breakup of the historic value of our neighborhood. So Mr. Welcock, and to everyone who was in the room today, we're asking for your love. We're asking for your compassion. We thank you for the work that you've done, but we're asking that the 12th district remains the same with little adjustment if possible and necessary, because we've earned it, we're worthy of it, and we're value of it. And to all our young people who go to the middle schools and the high schools, they're looking to continue to have friendship in those same schools and those same buildings, and not being able to be separated by a line that the conversation might be done differently because the elected officials are differently, and there's a different message in those coming out of those districts. So we're praying that we keep our district strong. We're praying that we keep it Black strong. We're praying to keep it homeowner strong. We're keeping it voter strong, but more importantly, just keeping it strong as residents of the 12th district. And if there's a way that we can keep the map the way the previous map was, with very few changes, and keeping Gun Hill houses in, and Evangelist and the football field in, and our PS 41s and our Magenta Parks and our Immaculate Conception and our Valley Park, to split the valley up in 2 halves, all our homeowners, it makes no sense. I know many of you have done a lot of the work. You don't live in the community, so you don't understand the value, what it means to us. But we need us to stick together as us, and we're asking you all to respect the words that are coming from us to keep the 12th district whole. I thank you for your time this evening. May the Lord continue to watch over each and every one of them, because it's a tough task that the commission has to do by responding to all these changes. And we're asking us that our change doesn't be a change of destruction, but it becomes a message of us being able to move forward and stick together and stay together as a 12th district. Thank you again for everyone today, and thank you for your time, Commissioner.
And thank you very much for your testimony, sir. We'll stay in person for now. And so the next 3 individuals here are Beatrice Cornell, Bernadette Ferrara, and Essence Scott. So if you can line up at the microphone, starting with Beatrice, is it Cornell? Thank you very much.
Hi, all. Thank you for having me. And my glasses. So I'm Beatrice Cornell. I am a resident of Council District 12. Thank you, Councilmember Riley. I echo everything he said. former council member Andy Cohen. I am also the chair of Bronx Community Board 12, but I am here representing myself as a resident.
Your mic might not be.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but
You
they
can hear
may
me
not
now?
be able to
Okay.
hear you.
So I'm Beatrice
There you
Cornell,
go.
resident of Council District 12, and I'm also the chair of Community Board 12, but I'm here representing myself as a resident speaking. Every opinion is my own. So to the members of the Districting Commission, thank you for having us here. As I said, my name is Beatrice Cornell, and today I'm here to testify as a resident of this district. I would like to emphasize that Council District 12 is an organically dense Black home ownership population. I'm a homeowner with my daughter as well within this district, and the preservation of this district's representation matters. My background is also in mental health, so I do understand that the fabric of a community is really important. After the pandemic, there was a lot of issues that arose within our district, and we're working really hard to surpass that, and so continuing to keep a unified community is of utmost importance. I have lived in this neighborhood of the Bronx for the past 5 years, and I am requesting that you reconsider the boundary lines to help keep my community unified and intact. Our community in Council District 12 has shared values and needs, and as such, there should be shared access to the services. Dividing the district along these borders will require a further distance to municipal government services, and in most instances, double the travel time, particularly via public transportation, to access such services. I would like to note that in a survey taken amongst the people of this district, 60% of the sample shared that they had to travel outside of their district for services. Redistricting would increase this percentage, which would put us at a great disadvantage. The 12th Council District, as it stands, is a close-knit community with shared values. This district also holds a unique population as a majority Black community with a higher average of home ownership, as I previously mentioned. The neighborhood tabulation area for Williamsbridge, Olinville has 60% Black residency, and Eastchester, Edenwald, Basechester has 68% Black residency compared to the borough, which has 28% Black residency. In 2019, via the Census American Community Survey, it is estimated that the region has a home ownership rate of 39.1%, with 60.2% of homeowners identifying as Black, compared to the borough, which has 18.9% home ownership, with 29% of homeowners identifying as Black. To divide this community would negatively impact us and disenfranchise the community and weaken political power. As a result, I, Beatrice Cornell, am compelled to testify to the commission and ask that they reconsider these district lines and reconsolidate Gun Hill and the Valley. Generations of family have grown up together in this community, and I would like to continue to build with my neighbors as a consolidated entity. For decades, the members of this district have built meaningful relationships by attending the same schools, faith institutions, senior centers, and now finding ourselves and subsequently our resources immensely divided, again, would put us at a disadvantage. We have spent decades fighting for adequate funding for our community and especially our schools, such as Evander, and alongside our council representation, we were able to secure $778,000 for capital improvements for Evander High School campus. This school is a District 12 community institution with generations of residents in this community attending this school, and a beacon program where we can send our kids. Again, taking this out of that district would leave a lot of our kids without the option to attend this high school. These programs require adequate funding, and the neighborhood council districts already have existing commitments and institutions such as the Columbus campus in District 13 and the Roseville campus in District 15, and it may take away resources from other districts to ask them to carry this charge. In conclusion, as a longstanding resident and member of Council District 12, I implore the commission to keep our families together, our limited resources intact, and restore the original district boundary lines. With today's climate, where we are forced to compete for resources, it is imperative that we keep our Council District 12 community intact. Our goal is to continue to grow our resources and elevate the quality of life for those within this district. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your testimony. Is Bernadette, is it Ferrara? And then after Bernadette, we have Essence Scott. Yep. got
Okay.
it.
Okay, good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Bernadette Ferrara. Born, raised, educated, raised my family, and still living in the Van Ness section of the Bronx, a diverse community in the east part of the Bronx. I serve on Community Board 11 and represent Van Ness since 2008, and am a founding member and current president of the Van Ness Neighborhood Alliance, a 501c3 formed in 2010. Today I speak again as the lifelong resident. I want to personally thank the Commission for taking to heart both of my testimonies, along with others from Van Ness, now uniting the whole community of Van Ness into one City Council district under the current proposed map for City Council District 13. The proposed lines include all of Van Ness, aligning us with the fabric of low-density community issues present in Community Board 11 and the 49th Precinct are both located in City Council District 13. With the Van Ness neighborhood united as one, we will be better partners with neighboring communities as a stronger united front for common community problems, events, and major goals. Uniting Van Ness has also aided in connecting the larger Yemeni population in Van Ness. We are no longer a tale of a split community sitting on the fringe of two City Council districts. We hope the current proposed lines for City Council District 13, which keep Van Ness as a whole within its borders, moves forward to be the final lines. Van Ness looks forward to achieving their major community goals that have been needed for decades. That being a Boys and Girls Club or community center, middle schools, youth programs, senior housing, and veterans housing. I truly appreciate and commend the Commission for holding this public hearing to receive additional community input for the new New York City Council district lines. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Essence Scott? Essence Scott? Okay, we'll come back. I'll do one more in person and then we'll switch to virtual testimony. Is Judith Benitez here?
Good evening to everyone. My name is...
If you can speak directly.
I am.
You are? Okay.
I am.
There you go. All right.
Any closer?
No,
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you. My name is Judith Benitez, and I live here in the Bronx for, at least the Northeast Bronx, for the last 52 years. I am a current member of Community Board 12. I'm their secretary, but I'm here today as my person. What I'm asking and requesting you to consider the boundaries to help keep my community unified. Our community within the current boundaries has shared values. As such, there should be shared access to services. Dividing the district along Gun Hill Road and Bronxwood and Gun Hill Road and Holland Avenue will require a further distance to municipal government services and in most instances double the travel time. In 2019, the census estimated that the region has an ownership rate of 39.1% with 60.2% of homeowners identifying as Black, compared to the borough, which was 18.9% ownership and 29.0% of homeowners identifying as Black. To divide this community would be to disenfranchise the community and weaken political power. I am compelled and begging that the Commission reconsider these district lines and reconsider Gun Hill and the Valley. Generations of our families have grown up in this community, and we would like to continue to have this unified community. We have spent decades fighting for adequate funding for our community, and especially our schools, such as Evander, which is, by the way, I overlook that school from my building. We were able to finally secure $778,000 for capital improvements for the Evander High School campus. This is an absolute historic institution in our community, with generations of my fellow neighbors going to that high school. These programs require adequate funding, and the neighboring council districts already have their existing commitments and institutes. What I would say is, as a longstanding resident of Community District 12, I implore the Commission to keep our families together and restore the original district boundaries. Our generation will be able to succeed due to the resources we are able to access, and we would greatly appreciate being able to offer the next generation the same access and resources. And thank you for your time.
And thank you for your testimony as well. We'll go virtual now, and first up for virtual is Lori Goodman, followed by Amarita Torres, and then followed by Henry Euler. First up, Lori Goodman. Nope. Okay. Next is Amarita Torres.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Amarita Torres. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I live in current Council District 17 in the Bronx. I also serve as Democratic State Committee member for the 85th Assembly District in the Bronx, serving Longwood, Hunts Point, Soundview, Harding Park, and Classen Point. Before I was elected, I helped form a mutual aid group which worked to serve the needs of residents across the Bronx during the pandemic. Recognizing the issues our communities faced, we organized and raised money to provide relief to community members. Since being elected, I continued that work while promoting critical civic engagement activities and outreach for the census. I also serve as a board member for the Women's Housing and Economic Development Corporation, or WEDCO. WEDCO provides comprehensive community development in the South Bronx, including building affordable housing, youth and family supports, workforce development, education, and wellness. Lastly, I also serve as Vice President of Policy for the Community Service Society of New York. In this role, I combine strategic advocacy with data-driven policy analysis to provide a more equitable city and state. So today I'm speaking in my personal capacity as a resident of the Bronx and New York City, and I bring the knowledge and lived experiences of all of these roles, which informs the testimony I present today. I have two main concerns with the preliminary maps. One huge concern I had was the shifting of the Kingsbridge Armory and the Kingsbridge Heights community from existing Council District 14 to Council District 11. The decision to displace this historic landmark and this important community of interest will distort decision-making power over a critical community asset and a critical community in and of itself that has long been a part of District 14. My suggestion is to keep the Kingsbridge Armory and Kingsbridge Heights in District 14 and disturb as little as possible in the area to ensure continuity and protect the community interests there. Secondly, I have a deep concern generally about the unequal weight given to the voices of Staten Island residents in the current maps. The preliminary map creates 3 wholly contained districts within Staten Island and seriously underpopulates these districts at the expense of every other borough, including the Bronx. Every vote must count equally, one person, one vote, and the preliminary maps ignore that by drawing the maps in the current way they are drawn. I urge the Commission to distribute the populations among the 5 boroughs more equally and equitably and avoid weakening the vote of our communities. In closing, I want to sincerely thank the Commission for the opportunity to testify and for all the work they've done so far. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Next up virtually, Henry Euler.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. My name's Henry Euler. I'm the president of the Auburndale Improvement Association in Flushing, Queens. I'm also a vice president of the Queens Civic Congress, the umbrella organization of dozens of civic and community organizations in Queens County. I'm also a member of my local community board. I'm representing my local civic organization tonight with this testimony. You may wonder why a Queens person is testifying at the Bronx hearing. Last night, there were so many people registered virtually to speak at the Queens hearing that they did not have time for everyone. So they suggested we re-register at another hearing. So I thank the commission for doing that, and I thank my neighbors in the Bronx for allowing me to come to their meeting. My civic association is a little bit concerned about the lines that have been drawn in the 19th district. In general, we're pretty pleased with what we have, but one section of our community is called Station Road, and that's been split into two districts. Part of it is in District 20 to the west, and part of it is remaining in District 19. Currently, all of Station Road is in District 19. Now, the last time this came around 10 years ago, a similar situation existed. The proposal was to split Station Road, but after community members spoke, it was decided to specifically reunite Station Road into the 19th district. And that's what we're asking for now, is that the Station Road section be united into Council District 19. It's all similar. It's a similar area in terms of zoning, in terms of issues. So we feel that it should be together. That's a theme that I've been hearing all night tonight here at the Bronx meeting and also at the Queens meeting. People want to be, all the people want to be in the same neighborhood, want to be in the same district. And I think the commissioners should heed that desire of the people. Going a little bit towards the east of us is a section called Bayside Hills. It's not in my civic area. However, it's got a similar situation. The proposal is to split Bayside Hills between District 19 and District 23. Currently, Bayside Hills is all in 23. So I would think that to balance the numbers, if you put Station Road together, you should also put Bayside Hills together. It would make sense. So that's what I'm requesting. And the lines that we are proposing was vetted by somebody named Paul Graziano. He's the land use chair for the Queens Civic Congress. And he did a study for all of Queens County, trying to keep neighborhoods together, communities of interest together. That's very important. So I hope that you examine his proposal. I've also handed in my written testimony as well as maps about Station Road. And I appreciate the chance to speak tonight. Thanks again.
And thank you for your testimony, and thank you for following up as well. Next, we have Geraldine. I only have one name. Is Geraldine there? No. And then after that, virtually, Danelli Rodriguez. Is Danelli Rodriguez there? No. Okay, we'll go back to in person. And now we'll have, is it Geraldine Gordon, Orlando Avelez, and Carlos Vargas Ramos. First up, Geraldine Gordon.
Good evening to the commission.
Can you just move the mic down a little that way?
Sure.
There you go.
How's that?
Sounds better.
Okay.
Thank you
Can you
very
hear
much.
me? Thank you for saying my name correctly.
Oh, wow.
That
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
Thank you for the thank you.
My name is Dr. Geraldine Gordon, and I'm here on behalf of District 12. I'm a resident there. I've been a resident there for 2 times 20 plus. And I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm here to ask you all, unfortunately my phone died, so my script is gone with it. So I have to go ad lib.
And you can submit it, as you know.
Sir?
You can submit it.
Oh, I plan to. I
Okay.
still will submit it, but in the meantime, as I said, I was a resident there for a long time. I attended Evander Childs High School. I'm asking the commission to please reconsider the lines along Gun Hill Road. Evander is really important to us. Actually, there's 5 of us. I'm the only one of my brothers and sisters that wasn't smart enough to go to one of the specialized high schools, but I'm also the only one of them that holds a graduate degree. So I'm also very proud of Evander Childs High School. And it's really, really important that this school remains a part of District 12. I heard a lot of people, and we are homeowners, talk about homeowners. I've also heard a lot of testimony about how the Bronx doesn't show up. District 12 was the home of the essential worker. A lot of people aren't here because they're at work. Those homeowners a lot of times have to work 2 jobs to keep those homes and to pay our taxes. So don't let the fact that you don't see a lot of people here mean that we don't care about those district lines. My father and mother being both of people who work 2 jobs to support their 5 children and never depend on any subsidies. Okay, so again, I really ask the council to really, really consider what it is in the Bronx, what it means to us. Also, first generation of 2 immigrant parents who came here with little to nothing, that was able to buy a house and to work hard and still have that home today. We're being surrounded by lots of people who aren't homeowners, and we welcome them into our diverse community, but we also want you to take in consideration those of us who have worked and contributed to the upbuilding of the Bronx. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Next is Orlando Obeles. Is Orlando here? Okay, we'll come back. Thank you for letting me know. Carlos Vargas Ramos.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I actually have a handout to pass out to illustrate my points.
Sure. John. You're going to have to move it up.
Yeah. There you go. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, buenas tardes. My name is Carlos Vargas Ramos. I am the Director for Public Policy for the Center for Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College, City University of New York, the sister institution of Lehman College. And I am here to comment on the preliminary council district maps drawn by the Commission, by you. Since my general impressions of the preliminary maps will certainly exceed 3 minutes, I will also be submitting written testimony along with our own analysis of the demographic changes that have taken place in New York City in the intervening decade. In the interest of time, my comments will center on how redistricting will affect the Hispanic population, specifically in the configuration of plurality districts and the deviation of the ideal target population favoring districts in Staten Island. The Commission has drawn 29 majority districts and 22 plurality districts. Of the 51 districts preliminarily drawn, non-Hispanic whites represent the majority in 11 districts, and they're the plurality in 9. Hispanics represent the majority in 10 districts, and the plurality in 5. Non-Hispanic blacks are the majority in 5 districts, and the plurality in 5. Non-Hispanic Asians are the majority in 2 districts, and the plurality in 3. This outcome overall is surprising when compared to the composition of current council districts in light of the 2020 census results. Presently, 28 of the current council districts are majority districts in which a single ethno-racial group is the majority of the district population. In another 23 districts, no single ethno-racial group represents the majority of the population of the district, even if one of the single groups may capture a single, the greater proportion of the population, that is the plurality. Specifically, non-Hispanic whites are the majority of 11 council districts and the plurality in 8. Hispanics are the majority in 9 districts and plurality in 6. Blacks are the majority in 7 and the plurality in 4. And Asians are the majority in 1 district and the plurality in 5. Given the decennial census results, which showed a slight decrease in the non-Hispanic white population, it is not surprising to see preliminary plans that maintain the number of majority non-Hispanic white districts at 11, but the preliminary plans increase the number of non-Hispanic white plurality districts to 9 from 8. This is a 13% increase. In contrast, the number of Hispanic majority districts increases from 9 to 10, which is an 11% increase, but the number of Hispanic plurality districts decreases from 6 to 5, a 17% decrease. For non-Hispanic Asians, the increase of Asian majority districts from 1 to 2 represents a 100% increase, but a decrease in Asian plurality districts from 5 to 3 represents a 60% decrease. The decrease of one non-Hispanic black majority district from the current configuration is a 14% decrease, while the increase in one plurality non-Hispanic black district is a 13% increase. The difference in the district's population distribution in the preliminary plan that seems to position the non-Hispanic white population for descriptive representation disproportionately is evident in how those plans affect plurality districts. For instance, under the present configuration of district lines, 41% of District 7 is Hispanic, 28% is non-Hispanic white. On the preliminary plans, the Hispanic population in District 7 declines to 35%, while the non-Hispanic white population increases to 34%. The Hispanic population in District 7 did decline 13% between 2010 and 2020 under the current configuration, while the non-Hispanic population increased by 7%. However, the proportional decline in Hispanic population in District 7 under the preliminary plan is 15% compared to the disproportionate increase of 22% of the non-Hispanic white population. In District 7's adjacent district, District 10, which experienced a similar Hispanic population decline, 11%, and a similar non-Hispanic white population increase, 9%, the proportional population change on the preliminary district's plans was minus 0.9 and minus 0.3. And this doesn't appear to be commensurate with the actual population changes in these two districts.
Can you start to wrap up, sir?
Pardon me?
Can you start to wrap up?
I have comments on District 32, 34, 36. No, I will not read them.
Okay.
I will just point out to the fact that, and you will see them in the illustrations, that it is more than District 7 and 10. We also have District 38, District 26, and District 32. Briefly, I will just mention that in regards to the overrepresentation of districts in Staten Island, that there is, in doing a statistical analysis, there is a greater proportion of Hispanics having a slightly greater population than districts with greater proportions of non-Hispanic whites, which are associated with slightly smaller demographics. From numerical perspective, districts with fewer residents are thought of as having greater political power, as it takes fewer voters to elect a representative than has the same voting power in the council as residents of districts with more residents. Adherence to the one person, one vote principle prevents deviation from numerical equality in populations for congressional districts.
I need you to wrap up, really. Okay.
We hope that you consider that when drawing the council districts as well.
Okay, thank you for
Mr.
your
Chairman.
testimony. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Judy Hudson. Is Judy Hudson here? Judy Hudson. Then next will be Laverne Bess King, and then Chanel Finney.
Good evening. I can't speak to the statistics.
Can you just identify yourself, because I called
Oh,
two names.
yes, I will.
Okay.
I will, sir.
Thank you.
I cannot speak to the statistics, but I'm here on behalf of District 12, and I can only speak from my passion about the community in which I grew up. My name is Laverne Bess King. I have lived in the Bronx on East 221st Street between Paulding and Laconia Avenue since I was 3 years old. My grandparents, aunt, and uncle lived around the corner on East 222nd Street. I attended elementary and high school in the district at PS 78 and Evander Childs High School. I left to attend college at Syracuse University and returned upon graduation and began my career starting as an assistant teacher at the Williamsbridge NAACP Daycare Center, then as a field director with the Girl Scout Council of Greater New York, servicing troops and volunteers in District 12, and later joined the NYPD and became the first youth coordinator assigned in Patrol Borough Bronx Community Affairs, in part and thanks to the connections and history built in our district. Our district is special to me personally because it birthed my passion for youth and community. My aunt, Laverne Turner, who is my namesake, was an integral part of this community, with East 219th Street and White Plains Road bearing her name. Working with her on countless community projects, including protesting for a traffic light on East 222nd Street and Paulding Avenue. That tells my age. It is these experiences and seeing my community come together that inspired me along with my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Eta Omega Omega chapter, to begin a mentoring program. This program services young women grades 9 to 12 right here in District 12 and has done so for 31 years. There are narratives about Black communities that are disparaging and disheartening. I have never known that to be true based on my experiences in the district. Our community is strong, familiar from Valley Day to Gun Hill Day and all in between. We are one large family spanning generations, many like mine. My children on East 222nd Street, my siblings in the Valley, nieces, nephews, and cousins in Eastchester and Co-op City, all living and raising their families in the district. It is important to maintain, cherish, and celebrate our district and leave it as is together. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your testimony. Is Chanel Finney? Welcome.
Oh, well, I'm short too. Hi, my name is Chanel Finney. I too am from District 12. I was born in District 12. I went away for college at Utica College of Syracuse University. Came back, bought my first home in District 12, started my career in interning for housing preservation and development, then going over as a paralegal at Arnold and Porter. And beyond then, I have family still in District 12. And I'd say the area is very unique, and I was inspired to return based on the improvements made and the familiarity with everyone in the neighborhoods. Having lived in other Bronx districts, I can say when my coworkers and guests and clients come to visit, they feel a difference. And I think that sense of community shows based on, the DNA that is built into the area. We have so many, I'd say, like Commissioner Riley, like very passionate about the area, district leaders, other homeowners, our local businesses. There's a great sense of community, and it's very inspiring. The areas of the commission, you guys wish to remove that have marked out, have made long-lasting contributions. And it's interesting, from Valley Day, I used to go there as a little girl. I moved to Charlottesville and came back, and those traditions still exist. The local school activities from Evander, I used to got free lunch, whether it was a Sousa or like PS 111 or 112. The long-needed renovations and resources that have now taken place within the past couple of years along Gun Hill Road area, it was much needed, and they have finally been able to garner the support to get that. So, and also transportation in the area is not very consistent and reliable after you reach 180th, and coming into that area, those that you guys have removed on the map from Gun Hill up in Arnold in Co-op City, we rely on like Baychester Avenue and Gun Hill, those train stations, and they have to commute far to get there. So why not keep us together if there's already a divide on how we navigate? So I come here today to thank you guys for your participation and help of what you've done thus far, but to keep in consideration of keeping Gun Hill and District 12 together as is, and especially in that unique area of the Valley and Gun Hill. So thank you.
And thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Jose, is it Francisco Avella?
Greetings, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Jose Francisco Avila. I am the chairman of the board of the Garifuna Coalition USA, Inc., a nonprofit community-based organization founded in 1998 and based in the South Bronx. I am one of the founding members, having been involved in the organization and its advocacy since its inception. The Garifuna community is an Afro-Indigenous community that began migrating to New York City in the 1930s. However, the discovery of this rich culture and tradition arose from the tragic fire on March 25, 1990, at the Happy Land Social Club fire. Most of the 87 people who perished were Garifuna. It was this tragic event that developed the foundation for the need to raise awareness of the Garifuna culture and heritage. The mission of the Garifuna Coalition USA, Inc. is to advocate for the rights of the Garifuna immigrants and strengthen our participation, civic participation within the community by nurturing local leadership through educational and cultural programs and bring together community members across racial and ethnic lines. It seeks to improve the social, economic, civic, and cultural conditions of New York's Garifuna community. As a part of that mission, we embarked on our first effort to participate in the redistricting, to ensure that we can define our community, the geographic reach, and advocate for our own interests. Currently, in the preliminary plan, the community is divided between 4 districts, 8, 15, 16, and 17. This division among our community creates issues in creating accountability from elected officials and limits our access to to critical resources, which deepens the socioeconomic inequality that exists in our community. We have defined our community boundaries as Tremont Avenue on the north, 135th Street to the south, Webster Avenue to the east, and Bruckner Boulevard to the west. Our community is interested in consolidating into as few districts as possible. Ideally, we would like to be consolidated in districts 8 and 17, and which will benefit our community by granting the attention and awareness of our community that our community needs, and will help build accountability for our community and empowering our voice through the political process. Thank you for listening to my testimony. I hope that I have given you a good description of my Garifuna community of interest, which has been hidden in plain sight for too long. Hopefully, this testimony will build our efforts to increase the visibility of the Garifuna community. Sereme, gracias, thank you.
Gracias. Thank you, sir. We'll have one more in person, then we'll switch to virtual, and then we'll come back to in person. So Gloria Rodriguez? Is Gloria Rodriguez here? If not, I will call in person Alonzo De Castro. And then we'll go to virtual.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is Alonzo De Castro. I'm 95 years and 8 months old.
Oh.
My family and I moved into our home on East 224th Street 58 years ago. My wife and I raised 3 daughters who attended the local public schools, and all 3 are college graduates. With our neighbors, we organized the East of Laconia Community Association, whose purpose was to ensure that we received the services of city agencies that we were entitled to. As the association grew, we developed a relationship within the elementary, middle, and high schools, where, with the help of businesses and our own funds, we were able to provide scholarships and grants to graduates. As a member of St. Luke's Episcopal Church on East 222nd Street, I founded an organization we named Men on a Mission to support the proposed building of a community center. Even though that center was never built, we used the money to provide scholarship for students. In 2009, I organized, along with Shirley Farron, the president of the NAACP Williamsbridge, the Northeast Bronx Community Coalition. The main purpose of the coalition was to petition our elected officials for a community center, which was lacking in our community. After many community meetings and meetings with our elected officials, the Northeast Bronx YMCA is now in operation with a membership of over 1,700. When we first moved into this district in 1966, every elected official representing us was of Caucasians. After many decades, and through the work of so many, the political landscape has changed. Now every elected official is Afro-American. That represents our community. And I'm talking about Community District 12, including our own borough president, Vanessa Gibson, and District Attorney, Darcel Clark, and the Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hasty. The redistricting of the seats of the House of Representatives is causing our community to lose some Afro-American political representation. As to the proposed lines for Council District 12, that would exclude Gun Hill houses, Evander High School, I am against this. These two developments are integral parts of our community, and I am urging you to retain them within the district lines. Thank you very much.
And let me thank you for your years of service to the community and to the city, and thank you very much for your testimony. Going virtual, we are going to go to Antonia Clemente. Antonia Clemente?
Yes, hi, hello everybody, saludos. Good evening, my name is Antonia Clemente and I'm speaking on behalf of my community district in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, New York, which includes Council District 38, includes neighborhoods of Red Hook, Park Slope, Windsor Terrace, and Borough Park. I am a community resident born and raised in Sunset Park, homeowner for over 45 years. I am the executive director and founder of the Healing Center, the only domestic violence organization working with Latinx families in Southwest Brooklyn, mainly comprised of recent immigrants with families and young children. Speak on behalf of my family and many who are not able to join these hearings. We would like to convey our pressing concerns with the proposed new district lines of legislative map and the impact the reduction of the 38th council district will have on representation of our Latino community. Our neighborhoods in Sunset Park shares a rich, extensive history, beginning in the 1960s and 70s, when I attended public schools and shopped at the business strip along Fifth Avenue. At the time, the community was comprised mainly of Italians, Irish, Scandinavian immigrants. I witnessed firsthand the changes of the demographics in the community. On the block where I grew up, in which I personally own a home, there were not too many Latinos. Growing up in Sunset Park during that time, I remember being called a spick, not sure what that meant. As the community demographics shifted with the influx of Latino immigrants, beginning with Puerto Ricanos, Dominicans, Ecuadorians, Central Americans, and now presently Mexicans, representation became a priority. As the years went by, the Latinx community activists at that time mobilized to ensure that we would have representation within our educational and political systems. By the early 1980s, the new district lines were drawn to ensure that we would have Latino representation on the state assembly district. And in the late 1990s, Latino candidates ran for the District 38 Council District, with having our first Latino elected official to city council in the 2000s. The current political district lines will significantly, if they're divided, will significantly disenfranchise and disempower our collective voices. So many have worked so hard in the past to ensure Latino representation is equal within our city government in Sunset Park, Red Hook, and Park Slope. Dissolving and dividing the 38th Council District, joining it with Bay Ridge, will have a negative impact and a significant loss of Latino representation within New York City government. Funding for community-based organizations will be diluted, impacting direct services for our Latino community, which is crucial to the well-being of individuals and community stability. When drawing new district lines, the interests of the Latino community in Sunset Park must be at the forefront, ensuring access to the candidates of choice that represents our community's interests and needs. We are already being divided by the redistricting of the congressional and senatorial lines. I request this commission to protect equal representation of our community as per the 1965 Federal Voting Act, which forbids new district maps to dilute the voting power of racial and language minority groups. The city charter also includes similar provision that ensures fair and effective representation. I appeal to this commission to keep the old map intact, maintaining the 38th Council District all in one district. For transparency, we ask for inclusion in the redistricting development process, which will allow members of our community to engage and be aware of methods that determines their access to resources and political representation. Fairness must be at the center of the redistricting process. Given the increase of the Latino population across our state in the past 10 years, it is vital that the redistricting process fairly draw lines representatives of changes that reflect our community's growth. Thank you for taking your time to listen, for the opportunity to share my concerns. And this is an issue that is very, very dear to me because I've seen the changes in my community being that I'm born and raised here. So enjoy the rest of your summer. Respectfully, Antonia Clemente.
And thank you for your testimony. Next, we will have someone I'm excited to introduce because the last time we saw her, something new has happened, and I want to say congratulations. It's my pleasure to have Councilmember Sanchez virtually testify. Councilmember?
Good evening. Thank you so much, Commissioner Walcott. And yes, I am happy to report that I have brought a new resident into District 14 since we were last together. Baby Enlal was born. So good evening. I am Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, new mom, and also representing District 14. And I want to just thank you for allowing me to testify today. This district where I was born and raised, and hopefully my baby was born and now hopefully will be raised. So, you know, I'm going to have a very short testimony today. I'll submit something in writing, but the bottom line for me today is I have, and my community has deep concerns about the preliminary lines. District 14, as folks may know, encompasses the Northwest Bronx neighborhoods of Kingsbridge, Fordham, University Heights, Mount Hope, largely low-income community of color, over 98% people of color. Our median worker earns just $21,000 per year, and 33% of our families live below the federal poverty line compared to 16% citywide. And so I'm gonna go Kingsbridge, I'm gonna go the south of the district, and then I'm gonna go you know, the general context. So the first concern that we have with the preliminary lines is Kingsbridge. The new lines remove the Kingsbridge neighborhood in its entirety from District 14 and into District 11. Kingsbridge has been a central part of our community for decades, and so much so that the Armory itself is iconic in our neighborhood. The Armory has been the site of so much of our community struggles. We have community-based organizations like the Northwest Bronx Community Clergy Coalition. I see you in the audience there wearing the yellow shirts, who have been fighting for decades to redevelop the Armory. And it's not just the building, it's about the struggles that have united this community in fighting for that armory for community economic development. Second, Kingsbridge Road itself is home to a vibrant commercial district. The new maps draw a line right down the center, dividing one side of the street from the other. And these small businesses that are there are largely immigrant businesses that are serving the community and are very similar in profile in terms of ownership and who they serve and all of that to commercial corridors like Burnside Avenue, 183rd, 176th Street, other corridors that are also in District 14 and are very dissimilar to commercial corridors in District 11, frankly. And third, the Kingsbridge neighborhood itself is a largely Latinx lower income district, a home to mostly renters who shop together, worship together, and study together. So moving this community as a whole out of District 14 into a wealthier, wider neighborhood or neighboring district would represent a dilution of voting power for protected class Latinos and a community that is a community of common interest with respect to so many of our socio-demographics. So the Kingsbridge neighborhood should remain in District 14 from the Armory all the way to Kingsbridge Heights. And now the south of the district has traditionally been covered or has been bounded by the Grand Concourse, or actually the entire district has been bounded by Grand Concourse for the last 10 years. The south of the district by the Cross Bronx Expressway, this continues to make sense. There have been some changes, but if, there were portions of the district from the north that were cut, Kingsbridge, and portions of the district in the south that had new populations, new sections added. So wanted to make sure to mention that those boundaries do make sense as they currently largely are. And then in citywide context, someone mentioned this earlier, this district should be balanced. It's not fair for a part of the city, Staten Island. Sorry, love y'all, Staten Island. But it's not fair for Staten Island to have districts that are smaller in population because that makes the rest of us have to represent more individuals, which is not fair to the individuals in each district. So there has to be fairness in that process because it's having spillover effects for the rest of the city. And so in closing, thank you. I want to thank the commissioners for allowing this time for testimony. Many of my neighbors are here today as well. I'm very glad. And so the only thing that I would say is please listen to them, listen to the neighbors, and continue the work that you are doing, reaching out in communities over social media, every single which way that you are reaching out, because it's at the end of the day, it's all about them. I'm only voicing the concerns that I've heard. So thank you so much. And I am going to go back to my baby.
And thank you, council member, and congratulations to you as well. Next up is virtually Denny, as is Salas.
That's correct, thank you. And first, I want to congratulate the councilwoman for having a new child. I am too a new father, 3-week-old, adding to the Latino population down here in Lower Manhattan. But I also want to say I echo a lot of the councilwoman's concerns, especially around the proposed council districts in Staten Island. But additionally, I do believe in brevity, so keep it pretty quick. I am in support of kind of the unity map that you can see on the redistrictinginu.org website, where in council district number 2, they will add more of the Latino percentage, the Latino population, in order to actually have proper representation there. But additionally, it benefits council district number 1, where you have a greater chance of having an Asian representative in that district as well. So I believe that the commission should follow kind of the recommendations that are laid out on the Redistricting and Unity Map section website. I think that would be pretty helpful for everybody across the city as well. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. You have a wonderful night.
And thank you for your testimony, sir. Next, virtually, Catherine Walsh.
Sorry about that. I hope that you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My name is Catherine Walsh, and I am a Sunset Park, Brooklyn resident. I am providing testimony about the redistricting that's affecting City Council 38. This is for, we're currently represented by Alexa Aviles, Councilmember Alexa Aviles, and it includes Red Hook and Sunset Park. I'm really concerned about the maps, the redistricting proposed maps, and I would really urge the commissioners to think about the principles of equity and the principles of keeping communities of interest together. We in Sunset Park, I heard the testimony earlier from another neighbor who was citing a lot of the communities of interest and challenges and problems that our community faces and the challenges that we're working through. We are a heavily working class community of immigrants, heavily Latino population, and as well as Asian American. And looking at the proposed maps that basically take Sunset Park and merge us with large percentage of Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, poses the potential to dilute a lot of the representation as well as the voice of our neighbors. So I want to just say a couple of things about as you go about this process, thinking about the concerns for equity, thinking about the concerns of keeping communities of interest together, and keeping the concerns around the kinds of problems and challenges that we're facing. One of the reasons that we need to keep Sunset Park and Red Hook together in District 38 is that we are a waterfront community. We are facing challenges, as we know, in New York City and New York State with the impacts of climate change, and we need a city council member who is able to be in a position to work directly on this issue with the neighborhoods of Red Hook and Sunset Park. Another implication and another problem that we are directly facing in both Red Hook and Sunset Park is the issue around transportation and traffic. Both communities share a very large issue with trucking facilities. The BQE rips through our neighborhood. Our neighborhood was divided by the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, and this has serious implications for the health, transportation, and well-being of our neighbors. So Red Hook and Sunset Park are working together on this particular issue of transportation, last mile trucking facilities, massive BQE implications, health, asthma. We have some of the highest asthma rates both in Red Hook and Sunset Park. And we need to keep our communities together because we're facing shared challenges and we're facing shared problems. So we have major concerns about how this redistricting basically stops in its tracks a lot of the work that we're doing in Sunset Park and Red Hook on environmental justice. So I urge the commissioners, please think about the communities of interest, equity, and then the physical problems and environmental problems that our communities face, and why Sunset Park and Red Hook should be kept together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I must say, from your car, very impressive in timing it with the 3-minute mark. So thank you very much for your testimony. As we transition back to in-person, we have two commissioners who have joined us since the introductions initially. So Maria and Kevin, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourselves?
Kevin Hanratty from Queens.
Good evening, Maria Mateo from Queens as well.
Thank you both. And in transitioning back to in-person, Orlando Avelas has joined us. So you're up next, sir. And then following him will be Christina Chase and Jagpreet Singh. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon, commissioners. Okay. My name is Orlando Ovalles. I am the Northeast Director of Civic Engagement for the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials Educational Fund. Our organization is the nation's leading nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that facilitates full Latino participation in the American political process, from citizenship to public service. We are advocating for a redistricting process which results in maps that provide Latinos and other underrepresented groups with a fair opportunity to elect leaders who are responsive and accountable to their communities. As we have stated in front of this redistricting body and others, we continue to urge this commission to conduct an accessible, inclusive, and transparent redistricting process. New Yorkers deserve a fair opportunity to provide feedback while engaging with the redistricting process. We respectfully request that the commission listen to the voices of the communities of interest in the Bronx. It is paramount for these communities to remain intact within the maps as they share social, economic, and cultural interests. It is critical that the maps that result from this redistricting process comply with the provisions set forth in the U.S. Constitution and the Federal Voting Rights Act. To meet these requirements, the commission maps must reflect the growth of the Latino community in the city and the Bronx over the last decade. According to data from the 2020 census, the Latino share of New York City's population is 28.9%. Latinos represent 56.4% of the population in the Bronx, the largest share among the rest of the counties in the city. Throughout the state of New York, Latino population growth outpaced the overall population increase between 2010 and 2020. Here in the Bronx, the Latino population grew by 8.8%, while the borough's overall population growth was 3.5%. The maps must ensure that Latinos achieve a fair representation by having the opportunity to elect candidates of their choice through the new district lines. The Commission must also abide by the New York City Charter's Chapter 2A, which sets forth the provisions for its operations. Through our work on Hágase Contar, a national campaign to ensure a full count of the Latino community across the country, we know that the 2020 census was unique in many ways. The pause on normal work and daily operation from the pandemic created a dire effect on Latino households, resulting in a lack of participation in the 2020 census. Additionally, the citizenship question that was proposed by the former administration, although rescinded, caused fear and lack of trust in the Bureau's mission and efforts to count everyone. The Commission should consider that nationally, the undercount of Latinos was 4.99%. As the only majority Latino county in the northeastern United States, Bronx residents are likely already underrepresented, and the data used to draw the maps. Therefore, the Commission must account not only for the growing Latino population, but also the potential undercounts in the redistricting process. We hope that this recommendation will be useful and seriously considered in the Commission's efforts during this process. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony and for your attention to our comments.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Much appreciated. Next is Christina Chase. Jagpreet Singh.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jagpreet Singh. I'm the Political Director at DC's Rising Up and Moving. We work with the South Asian, Indo-Caribbean working class populations around issues of housing, immigration, and much more. The South Asian Indo-Caribbean community has called New York City home for over 150 years. We are your drivers, your porters, the construction workers who build the giant skyscrapers, the healthcare workers who keep our hospitals running, food service and delivery workers that have put New York City on the map as a culinary institution. We kept the city running before the pandemic, we kept it running during the pandemic, and we'll continue to keep it running. Yet most of the districts where our community lives in, whether it's on the federal, state, or city lines, continue to be cracked. I'm here to talk about my community and the place where I lived, South Queens, areas of Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, and Ozone Park. My family has lived here. The religious institution I visit every Sunday, my Gurdwara, is here. This area is defined by Jamaica Avenue to the north, Van Wyck to the east, Conduit Boulevard to the south, and the Brooklyn border to the west. This area is home to a large Punjabi, Indo-Caribbean, and Bangladeshi neighborhood. They shop along Liberty and 101 Avenue. Their religious institutions, the mandars, the gurdwaras, the masjids, the churches are peppered across the district. And their growth has been tremendous. Our community saw the biggest growth in New York City, and we are the reason that New York as a state did not lose 2 congressional districts because of the growth we saw in the South Asian community. This Richmond Hill is also the home to where we saw the first hate crime after 9/11, due to 9/11, where a Sikh man was beaten almost to death the night of 9/11. And we thought this would have disappeared, but we saw similar crimes pop up again just a couple of months ago against elderly people within our community. We have no representation currently, and we're tired of sitting aside and taking that. I ask you not to continue this history of cracking of our South Asian Indo-Caribbean communities. This commission has a historical significance of having the first South Asian commissioner. I ask you to continue this history in making sure that you create a district in South Queens that reflect us. I support the unity map in maintaining 3 majority black districts still in Southeast Queens while creating a plurality South Asian and Indo-Caribbean district. I also want to note that as far as the population meters go, this Indo-Caribbean community often counts themselves as other, but with the combination of the South Asian community there, they do create a plurality Asian district. And again, we support the unity map. As a final note, I do want to add, as several other commentators have made, by keeping Staten Island contiguous, you made Queens non-contiguous. This makes no sense. No sense at all. We need equity, and that only comes by one, as the council member has said before, one person, one vote. Please take that into mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is it Roshan Nippa? Or Nippa?
Thank you. My name is Roshan Sarkar. I lived in Bronx. I'm a Bronx community organizer. Desh is Rising Up and Moving, as well as Jakpreet. We work for South Asian and Indo-Caribbean community, especially for working class people. So, as you know, Parkchester, Castle Hill, sorry to mention that I am actually Castle Hill side residents. We all know the Parkchester, Castle Hill, Westchester Square are all are very centered with Parkchester as a district of 18. In Parkchester, the Starling Avenue, also known as Bangla Bazaar. Our black and brown community are together for long years. We know Parkchester has the most representations for Bangladeshi brown community in Bronx. Our community are well known for their unity. As a community organizer, I work closely with South Asian community. I know how struggle they are for the language and for all food, community, clothing and everything. So we just, if our district broken, it will be very difficult to get all the services, especially for the immigrant and newly immigrant community. So we are, if we are not together, that's the struggle I think most people, especially working class and color of people will struggle. So I strongly demand District 18 as same for us Senate and Congress. That's why we can get more resources for our language and cultural based events and other services. We want keep neighborhoods and communities intact, keep districts compact, and limit district crossover between boroughs, avoid gerrymandering, and avoid oddly shaped districts, so that we can live together as well as build together. Thank you so much for listening me.
And thank you for your testimony. Next up, excuse me, in person is it Nagawang Yaganistang? After that, in person is it Kimmel Yard?
All right. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? All
Yes, sir.
My name is Kamel Yard. I'm a resident of District 12. My mother spoke earlier. My great-grandparents, along with my maternal grandparents, bought our house on 221st and 222nd Street before I was even imagined, not even thought of, imagined. And I have only left my community to go to college. I went to Binghamton University and I stayed in Binghamton for 12 years. And the reason I stayed in Binghamton is because I wanted to create in Binghamton what I grew up with. Like my council member, I went to high school at Mount St. Michael. I didn't get to fortunately attend elementary school in my district because of other experiences I had to have as a young person. But my grandmother lived in the district, and that was the safest, most secure, most stable home I've probably known my whole life. My mother lives there now, and I live around the corner. Most of my friends still live in the district who I went to high school with. I watched their nieces, nephews, siblings grow up. I've watched kids who my grandmother babysit have kids in my district. And so it hurts me to see the new map a little bit because I remember as a kid watching my uncles playing Valley Day and laughing because I'm like, you're 45, not 23. Hang it up. And now we're talking about splitting the valley, right? I went to Olinville Middle School, and now we're cutting up parts of Olinville. I wanted to go to Evander, but my mother said you're going to Mount St. Michael. But we're taking that out the district, from playing basketball from Gun Hill Park to Hafen Park in the valley. One of my first jobs was working a PAL Play Street in Magenta Park. The district means so much to everyone in it because it shaped us. So even when we leave the district, we carry a piece of it with us everywhere we go. Our community is unique in that most people come and they get off the 2 train and they're like, am I in Jamaica? And then they walk up the street and they go, but this is like the suburbs. And then they go to Co-op City and they shop and get all the things they need. So we are a beautiful illustration of what it means to be a community and a family. And I think by drawing lines that break that continuity, we do a damage to ourselves as a society, as a city, and as a nation. Thank you for your time.
And thank you, sir, for your testimony. In person, then we'll switch to virtual. Is it Christian Ramos? If not, then we'll switch. So she can't put it, no one else can. Okay, so let me do this. Before we go to virtual, we'll get to you in a second, virtual. We'll do in person still. Is it William Stanford Jr.?
You admitted the remaining part, but I won't blame you for that, because I'm already blaming you and your tag team partner for what happened yesterday, Euler in Queens. That was an absolute disgrace, what you two did. I don't know what the hell you two were thinking.
First, watch your language, and then you can continue, sir.
Hey, among those who registered, I was the first one who signed the sheet. And yet I waited over 4 hours before I could testify. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what happened. I don't know what you two were thinking. Okay, in the future, if I register and I'm the first one who signs the sheet, I should testify first. I shouldn't have to wait over 4 hours before testifying. Where's the logic to that? Find something at the MTA, which stands for money thrown away. Regarding the districts, okay, District 12, I feel District 12 should be bounded by Gun Hill Road to the south, 241st Street to the north, Webster Avenue, or White Plains Road to the west, Eastchester Road to the east, automatically, because that's most of District 12 right there. District 11 should be bounded by Gun Hill Road to the north, Fordham Road to the south, Jerome Avenue to the west, Webster Avenue to the east. Because in that perimeter is Community Board 7, which lies at 229 East 12th Street. In case you don't know or you forgot. And as I said before, you should go by the bus corridors because that's the best way you can redraw the lines. That's not what you're doing. You're cutting the districts, you're breaking up the districts, and as I said yesterday, this isn't break up to make up like the stylistics. Okay? This isn't Halloween Havoc 92, spin the wheel, make the deal. But apparently you forgot that part. Are you more concerned about keeping the communities together Or are you more concerned about keeping them separated? I'm sure you've heard that song, Keep Them Separated, years ago. I know, I've heard it. Is that what you're thinking? What are you doing? You could redraw the lines my way, which is better, or your way, which is worse. It makes no difference to me. But if you draw them your way, redraw them your way, you'll continue getting the same bad results. So why not just redraw them my way, and you'll get good results. And also, up until yesterday, I said the public hearing should start at 6 p.m., but based on what happened in Queens yesterday and today, which is past our bedtime, I think maybe you should consider holding between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. This way, you can get more people to testify. People won't leave before you call the names, because that's what happened in Queens both yesterday and today. We almost had to spend the night there, thanks to you two. If we were there any longer, I would have wanted to spend the night. Hopefully, you won't repeat what you did. Hopefully. And also, if you want us to pre-register, tell us before time. It's good you advertise on the website, but you should contact us by email if you didn't. If you didn't, that's your loss. Advertise, mention on the website, contact us by email, phone, fax mail, Twitter, whatever, etc. And another thing I don't get is, you gave us the opportunity to pre-register during round 2. This is round 2, but you didn't do it during round 1. That's inconsistent. That also reminds me of the MTA, which stands for money thrown away. So, all I'm saying is, to the chair and executive director, who could pass for Shaft and Superfly, who could pass for Godfrey Cambridge and Raymond St. John, Cotton Comes to Harlem, and Come Back Charles and Blue, take your time and do it right like the SOS band. That's all I'm asking you to do. Take your time and do it right like the SOS band. I'm not asking you to evolve around me or any of us, but at least be considerate to us. Okay, don't break up communities. Keep them together. And as I said, there's no reason why you can't go by the bus coders. We have many bus coders in all 5 boroughs. You know that. All you have to do is read the bus maps.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next up is Evan Casper. Sure. Okay.
I have not read this before, so just giving a heads up. So hello, my name is Evan Casper Futterman, and I am a part of the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative, a member of the Bronx-wide coalition. I live at 55 East 190th Street, which is currently District 14. The current draft map is a reflection of who has power, disproportionately white people in Staten Island, and who does not have power, disproportionately immigrants and low-income people of color in the Bronx. As a result, the draft map does not do what is necessary and hard about multiracial democracy, which is to balance the forces of fairness against the exercise of raw power. The current draft map breaks up communities of interest across the borough from the west to the east. Example 1, every district in the Bronx is overpopulated and underrepresented, and we are the only borough that is like that. This is a representation of the kind of treatment that ensures the continued political and economic disenfranchisement of this borough relative to others. Since I live in this neighborhood, I'll use it as an example. Almost every day, I walk past the Kingsbridge Armory while walking to and from the subway, shopping on Kingsbridge, walking in St. James Park, or going on a stroll or job around the reservoir. I attend local community meetings relating to the redevelopment of this gigantic and historic structure. These are the patterns and history of thousands of people in this neighborhood who have debated, fought, and strategized for decades to bring this armory into productive use for the neighborhood and the city. With scalpel-like precision, the current map moves the armory from District 14, where I live, to District 11, where my mother lives. My mother has no relationship to the Kingsbridge Armory. It is not a part of her history, her daily life, or her civic concerns. The current map takes the future of the Kingsbridge Armory away from the people who have worked for decades through many disagreements and challenges, and right as its future once again hangs in the balance, places it in the jurisdiction of people who have had no concern or relationship to it except passively through news reports. As a resident of the Bronx and District 14, I support the Unity Map Plan. Thank you.
And thank you for reading the testimony. Next order in person, then we'll switch back to virtual, is Joel Guerrero, and then Linda Dix Walker, and then Juan, is it Nunez?
Hi, my name is Joel. I live in Kingsbridge Road. I represent District 14. Since the pandemic and even post-pandemic, I've had the privilege to work with Purina Sanchez alongside small businesses in the District of 14 to revitalize the green space, green space, along with helping small businesses get themselves back in order, given that a lot of them suffered because of the pandemic. We realized that that was a moment for us to realize that building relationships with one another is going to be the most important thing heading forward. And we spent the previous few months focusing on what we should do with the participatory budget, and also how we can help tenants better through the programs that are available here in the Kingsbridge area, like the Northwest Bronx Coalition, and many other programs that are helping build more of that human relationship back into Kingsbridge Road. I believe Jeffrey Dinowitz, alongside the District 11, has a goodwill for what they'll be able to do for the Kingsbridge area. However, we realize that a lot of what the Kingsbridge Improvement District that already exists covers largely Broadway from 230th down to 238th, and which makes sense because it was originated at District 11. We fear that by bringing Kingsbridge District 14, Kingsbridge Road to District 11, we'll somehow have to rebuild new relationships and lose the old relationships that we've had with what we have already been building since the pandemic has started. We feel that it's important that we keep it strong because it's really hard to build relationships these days. And what we've realized is that although data and statistics does help us see and actualize the problems that are existing on the ground floor.
You did.
Forgive me.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. The overall sentiment of what's happening at Kingsbridge Road and District 14 is that relationship building and tackling problems face forward, like tenant rights, building relationships with landlords, helping small businesses work together, bring churches together, have the local parks work alongside with the council members and friends group and community organizations, will be what keep District 14 strong for heading forward. We hope that this redistricting doesn't pivot, jeopardize, or have us to restart and create new relationships with District 11, which we feel will be difficult because there's, lack of a better word, not enough relationships in the past, nor empathy within what's happening here at Kingsbridge Road compared to a place more, lucrative like Riverdale. Once again, nothing against District 11. We just feel like the relationship we've built in District 14 has been very strong, and we hope to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.